Welcome to the 2021 Ohio Contractors Association State of the Association program. Please welcome Melanie Kitchen, Ohio Contractors Association Director of Chapter Development.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for OCA's annual State of the Association program. I'm Melanie Kitchen, Director of Chapter Development with OCA. Before we start, I would like to remind everyone that this presentation is solely for the use of Ohio Contractors Association, its members, and our invited guests. It's not open to the media or the public, and all questions, answers, and comments made during this program are all considered to be off the record. Now we're going to start our program with a short video that's a year in review.
Good morning. My name is Mike Chimicella, and I am honored to serve as your 2020 Chair of the Board for the Ohio Contractors Association. Today, we are kicking off a very different winter conference.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Governor John Husted, and it's great to be with you for the Ohio Contractors Association Winter Conference.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate the introduction. I wish I could be with you all in person. I look forward to a future event when we could be together. At ARPA, we really
And now our final segment of each year's winter conference is to recognize three individuals who epitomize service to OCA in this industry by presenting the Distinguished Service Award, the President's Award, and the Hall of Fame Award.
Thank you, Chris. I'm humbled to receive this award. I want to thank the staff at the OCA who make this association work. They are the most dedicated group of people to work with.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to the past presidents for this award for my service with the OCA Safety Committee.
Well, thank you, Chris. 2020, what a year. You know, I was driving back a few weeks ago from a job, and I got the call from Chris. I just had to laugh to myself.
We hope you enjoyed that video. We're going to be using the question and answer feature located on your screen to ask questions of our panelists. So feel free to type those in as we move through our presentation, and we'll make sure to address your questions before we end our program. We're going to hear from several staff members today, as well as our current chair of the board with some association updates. Now I'm happy to turn the screen over to our 2021 chairman of the board, Brad Miller with Miller Brothers Construction.
Thank you, Melanie. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2021 OCA State of the Association program. As Melanie mentioned, my name is Brad Miller and I am proud to be this year's chairman of the board. Today you will hear from the OCA staff and we'll be giving information on what they've been doing the past year and what they are doing currently to promote the heavy highway construction industry. I'd like to start by taking a time to extend a special thank you out to the entire OCA staff for their work over the last year and a half during this COVID pandemic, working mostly from home. They've kept driving towards the goals of the association. They were a great source of communication for us as contractors, keeping us up to date throughout the process and the ever-changing COVID pandemic guidelines. So thank you to each and every one of you. Every year, the OCA develops strategic goals or initiatives and prioritizes 5 to 10 goals for the upcoming year. Some of those goals are short-term and some of them are repeatedly on our list year after year to monitor. I'll talk about 3 or 4 of them here in my presentation. First one is infrastructure funding. On the state level, the state transportation budget was successfully passed, but out of that process, the issue of raising force account limits for county and municipal governmental agencies has come up. Counties and local municipalities are trying to push to self-perform more work that should be competitively bid by private contractors. OCA has jumped in to try to protect the process, as Michelle Holgrave will talk about in her presentation in a few minutes. Michelle Holgrave does a fantastic job of monitoring all the proposed bills in the state legislature, making sure to protect our industry interests and taking the time to educate the state congressmen and women. Every year, our construction dollar buys a little less than the year before, so OCA will continue to push towards indexing of our motor vehicle user fees in the short term to protect our protect the erosion of this purchasing power. In the long term, with the growth and use of electric and hybrid vehicles, we'll encourage the investigation and the adoption of future funding sources such as that are more sustainable, such as the vehicle miles traveled model. This will be a slow process to educate and overcome the public perception, but it needs to start now in order to accomplish it in the future. On the federal level through AGC and ARTBA, we are tracking the potential infrastructure plans being talked about in Washington, D.C., as well as advocating for a greater transportation investment by the federal government through the reauthorization of the transportation budget bill prior to its expiration on September 30th of this year. That being said, the only way any of these things happen is through our contributions to the OCA PAC fund. OCA makes it very easy to get involved and to give to the PAC. You can go online with a personal credit card to make a donation, or you can write a personal check to OCA. Make sure when you do that, you put your local chapter in the memo part so that they get credit for the chapter of the year competition. Now, the owners and principals of a lot of our companies are used to contributing, and I would obviously encourage them to keep doing that. But I'd like to challenge everybody that's online with us right now to give a little bit if you can. Everyone who's received a paycheck in our industry has benefited from previous OCA PAC contributors. A donation of $50 or $100 would help. Even a donation of $10 or $20 would help. And I promise you, OCA makes every dollar count. I went online 2 weeks ago and contributed through the website. In hindsight, I didn't plan this out very well, but I'd like to throw a challenge out there. For every person that makes a donation to the PAC through the OCA website by the close of business Friday, and I will donate an additional $20 for each of those donations that we get. regardless of the dollar amount. So if you'd like to cost me a little money and get into my wallet a little bit, get online today or tomorrow and make your contribution soon. Work zone safety is also one of our strategic goals. Our work zones are inherently dangerous, but when you add to the fact that many people are driving through those work zones while texting or looking at their phones, makes it even worse. The frequency and severity of these crashes are unacceptably increasing the risk put on our employees' lives. Ohio is one of only three or four states that does not have a primary offense distracted driving law. OCA will continue to advocate to change that. Mark Potnick heads up our safety efforts here at OCA, and I would encourage to utilize him as a resource on any topics related to work zones, OSHA, or safety in general. He is also a resident expert on labor relations and will be speaking about the latest round of union negotiations in his remarks coming up. The third strategic goal is workforce development. Workforce development and recruiting of our future employees has continued with the help of Melanie Kitchen, and she'll expand on that in her presentation as well. COVID has challenged us in this area, but it's not stopped our efforts. We have done one constructor for a day event virtually, but we hope to have it along with our estimating competition back live as soon as the schools will permit in-person events. We've reached out to guidance counselors and career tech centers and helped develop the I Build America Ohio website, which, by the way, is a great tool for contractors to use for recruitment. Cannot talk about promoting of what a great career opportunity construction is without mentioning how much the OCA Advancement Foundation has meant to these efforts. The foundation is up and running and doing very well. Linda Pomeroy handles the foundation as well as our membership drive for the OCA. The OCA Advancement Foundation has given us the ability to connect with many more students and further our outreach initiatives. Special thanks to all the OCA Advancement Foundation donors. Not our last strategic goal, but the last one I will mention today in my presentation is partnering on our projects with ODOT. We've received mixed reviews on the level of this program's success across the state. So we will take a look at our partnering efforts and reach out to members in the near future to get your feedback on what factors lead to positive outcomes with partnering. That feedback will be compiled by Chris Engel, taken to the ODOT to work with them in trying to improve the partnering experience for everyone. In closing, with a relatively small staff and a constant eye on the association budget, Chris Runyon and the OCA staff do a phenomenal job of being our voice in the contracting industry. I'll leave you with two requests. One is if you're not involved yet in OCA, get involved at some level. You won't be sorry, whether it's at the state level or at your local chapter, get involved. My second request is that you consider a PAC donation soon, regardless of its size. So hit the OCA website and try to get that done if you would. I appreciate your time and attention. It's now my pleasure to introduce Michelle Hograve, OCA's Director of Legislative and Environmental Matters.
Thanks, Brad. Good afternoon. I'm sorry I can't be with you live today. Instead, I will be at the State House, my primary office, fighting the good fight on force accounts. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. But first off, just want to give a quick update on the Ohio State House. January 3rd marked the beginning of the 134th General Assembly. This begins a new two-year session following the 2020 election. Both the House and Senate continue to be controlled by a Republican majority. The House is split 64-35. The Senate split is 25-8. Of the 132 members of the Ohio General Assembly, there are 28 new members this year. So I'll be spending a lot of time educating members, the new folks, on issues important to the industry. The House is led by Speaker Bob Cupp from Lima. The Senate is led by a new president, President Matt Huffman, also from Lima. As a Lima native, go Allen County. We think that's great. The first year of a new session is normally the same. It means it's budget time. So the transportation budget and the general revenue fund budget were considered or being considered right now. They are the normal priorities for a first year of a session and usually consume about the first 6 months of the session days. Luckily, the transportation budget is on a bit of a fast track compared to the other budget and was approved at the end of March. While slightly below estimates, the ODOT budget approved includes $8.3 billion for transportation infrastructure projects for the next 2 years. Policy-wise, it was a bit tamer than my last budget at OCA when we did a gas tax. There were some controversies, though. The first dealt with ODOT's pavement selection process. It was a bit of deja vu all over again for me. When I was at ODOT back in 2003, we dealt with this issue, and the issue came up again this year. Attempts were made in both the House and Senate to include some language in the ODOT bidding process regarding pavement selection. However, the final bill did not include that language. However, a standalone bill has been introduced in the Senate to address the issue. So that will linger for a while as well. The other and probably the most significant issue from the transportation budget is language regarding force account increases for local governments. And that's why I'm not with you today. Chris and I are at the State House dealing with that. And just a little background, the Senate amended the transportation budget to include significant increases in the force account limits for local governments, up to 300% increases. We, along with our labor partners and other construction industry groups, opposed those levels. And things kind of ground to a stalemate on that. And considering the fast timeline of the transportation budget, a compromise was reached where the increases would be removed from the transportation budget. Instead, the locals would be given an inflationary increase similar to what ODOT has for their force account limits. And a study committee would be created to continue to review the issue. This committee is meeting right now and is made up of 3 members of the House, 3 members of the Senate, 1 construction industry representative, and a representative each from the County Engineers Association, the County Commissioners Association, the Township Association, and the Ohio Municipal League. The deadline for issuing a report, and again, for this issue, it's just a report. This group is going to hear testimony and not make recommendations, but compile all the information that was shared during the committee hearings. The report will be issued to the Speaker and the Senate President. That report is due May 15th, which, while it's not clear, but it's implied that there might be something regarding this in the GRF budget. So while we won the battle in the transportation budget, the issue still lingers, and we will likely be fighting this issue in the GRF budget again as well. So the party's not over, but I want to extend a sincere thanks to everyone that answered our call for contacting your legislators on this issue. Your input did make a difference, and I hope to be able to count on you again for assistance when the GRF budget is considered and this issue comes about. Other bills that continue to be introduced during this time as well. A few of note are: 1 would make prevailing wage permissive for local governments. That's been around a couple of general assemblies and hasn't gone anywhere. I don't anticipate that it will go anywhere this session as well, but it is out there. Another bill that would require prompt payment for subcontractors. So that those 2 are out there, and more will likely be coming for sure. Shifting gears to the federal side, earlier this year, President Biden announced his America's Job Plan totaling $1.9 trillion over 8 years for infrastructure funding, among other things. The Senate then followed with a 5-year, $565 billion proposal. The current surface transportation authorization bill expires at the end of September, and only time will tell where the 2 sides will land on this issue. So stay tuned for that. Finally, I believe Brad Miller already talked about the need to support the OCA PAC, and I totally agree with that. I think Your contributions are very much appreciated and are a key component of our government relations efforts. Your contributions help me support those legislators that are willing to listen and understand issues important to the highway construction industry. So your contributions in any amount are appreciated and will truly help make a difference. And I believe Brad issued a challenge that he would match contributions that are received in the next couple days. So yes, please, let's spend Brad's money. I will take any and all contributions. So thank you in advance. Thanks to everyone that has already given. And thanks to anyone else that is able to make a contribution. And just thanks to everyone for all your support and attention when legislative issues arrive. And as always, feel free to reach out to me with any questions or comments that you might have. I truly appreciate all your support. Thank you. I hope you all are well. And I believe I'm turning the meeting over to Mark Potnick, OCA's Labor Relations and Safety Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. And thank you for all you do to make OCA the preeminent construction trade association, not only in Ohio, but I believe throughout the country. Wanted to cover our topics today in the area of safety and labor relations, just to give you a summary of some of the things that we have been covering. And I'm going to share some information with you in way of a slideshow. First of all, I want to cover some of our safety highlights. Recently, OCA combined with ODOT and our partners at Ohio LESIT with the Laborers Union, and we participated in a media event down at the Ohio State House, which brought attention to work zone awareness. Each year we celebrate National Work Zone Awareness Week. It was April 26th to 30th this year. So we had a media event to spread the word, and we want to make sure that we continue that message, not for just 1 week in the year, but all year long. And we would ask for your support in each company, if you can share that message to the public, particularly of paying attention, driving safely, and slowing down in our work zones. If you carry that message on your websites and throughout your social media posts, we can make a difference, we hope, throughout the entire year, because it's a critical issue for those of us who work on those highways with passing traffic all the time. Wanted to give an update on our overhead hazard warning device. It was a huge success. We unveiled the overhead hazard warning devices that were developed by OCA Safety Committee last year. We distributed 500 of those units to our members at no cost, as the project was financed by our partners at Ohio LESIT. And we are currently taking orders for additional units. We've had demands for more, and our members are using them. We hope that they become the consistent warning device out there for overhead hazards, not only for structures, but overhead wires. And we are currently on our website. We have an ordering process. You can go on the website and indicate to us how many additional devices you would like to have. And once that ordering process is complete, we will order them again. And once again, our partners at LESIT have agreed to finance that, so there will be no cost to OCA members. So we hope you'll sign up and use those devices. They're working out great. Another thing we're doing is monitoring OSHA pandemic rules. They go on. COVID is not over, particularly in the workforce yet. So OSHA's pandemic rules to date that they were instructed to implement by the current administration don't currently coordinate with the latest CDC information. One example is CDC is allowing people who are vaccinated to have lesser standards, particularly when they're outside. OSHA is still recommending that both vaccinated and non-vaccinated employees be treated the same. So we're going to monitor that closely with our national affiliates, and also working closely with OSHA here in Ohio to make sure that we that regulations stay consistent, they're not confusing, and we'll keep the membership advised as that progresses. I always like to take the opportunity during our State of the Association presentation to talk about our group workers comp program. And we would like to grow that program, continue to grow that program. And I'm asking that all of our members at least take a look at the OCA group workers comp program to see if we might be able to save your company premium dollars. There's no cost for you to be evaluated. Our current TPA, Sedgwick, we think is the best TPA, third-party administrator out there today, and they can provide a free evaluation and analysis of your workers' comp program to see if we can save you money. Also, this year is the managed care option that the BWC makes available. They suspended that option last year due to COVID in 2020. So this year, between May 3rd and May 28th, companies have the option to change their managed care providers if they wish. And again, we highly suggest the utilization of our preferred provider in this, which is Sedgwick. One other benefit that our members of our group workers comp program do get is that Sedgwick also provides to the members services, consulting and assistive services for unemployment claims in Ohio. It's a big issue right now, particularly with fraud issues. So that's another service provided free of charge to our group workers comp members. And we hope that you'll take a look at that to see if you can take advantage of those services as well. Our safety committee is currently working on putting together a prep course for the ODOT worksite traffic supervisor exam. We continue to have a higher number of failures on the exam than we wish. We've talked to ODOT about this issue. They provided us with some course guidance information, but we're working with some of our members on the committee who are bringing their own materials in to the safety committee, combining them together where they're doing the courses now in their own companies. And we hope this year soon to have a prep course that all the OCA members will be able to tie into that will help prepare their employees prior to taking ODOT's WTS exam. Watch your newsletter and the website as we will be making announcements when that program is complete and available to the membership. On the labor relations side, we had 2 contract negotiations this year. Both our operating engineers and the carpenters agreements expired on April the 30th. Our negotiations with the operators were very successful. We went into actual face-to-face negotiations this year. The union requested it, but we still complied with the pandemic protocols with masks and spacing. And we also limited our negotiation committees this year to 4 people per party, and it worked out really well. I think we had very focused and very productive negotiations this year with the operators. We were able to secure a 3-year agreement that's effective May 1st through April 30th of 2024. The package was $1.35 per year over 3 years, which is 2.5%. We allowed them to float a nickel into the first year. So the first year is actually $1.40 because the operators' funds were needing 25 cents into the pension fund and 25 cents into the health and welfare fund in year 1. So the remainder of that will go into the wages, 50 cents into the benefits. One positive thing we did that's good for our employers, we changed the excavator rating in the operator's agreement as to when weekly pay is required. It used to be the type of hoe or excavator that determined whether it was a 40-hour machine or not. We changed that now so that it's 58,000 pounds machine and under will not be weekly pay or 40-hour machines. That particular weight category seemed to capture the hose that are being utilized, so it works to our benefit. So from this point forward, that will be included in the contract instead of the type of hoe. We also updated jurisdictional language, which is good for our employers in the operators agreement. We had outdated language in there, and the new updated language, and it binds both the employers and the union to the plan for the resolution of jurisdictional disputes in the construction industry, which in particular, when you do have those between unions, the plan to which the operators are stipulated says that you won't file a grievance and you won't file an unfair labor practice, and you'll allow the plan to make any determinations regarding disputes. So usually that backs away the unions from filing grievances over one jurisdictional dispute. One of the biggest that we've seen over the years is the operation of a skid steer loader, for example, that's in the laborers and the operators agreements both. So we're hopeful that that new language will be good for both us and the union. We were successful in lowering the apprentice ratio. It's now 1-to-1 when only 2 operators are employed. And once an employer goes beyond the 2 operators, from that point forward, the ratio shifts back to 3 journey persons to 1 apprentice. What that does is now allow us, if you have a job that only requires 2 operators, you can have one of them being apprentice. In the past, if you try to utilize an apprentice, the compliance agency for the city or the state or whoever we're working for would enforce the Davis-Bacon laws, which include the apprenticeship ratios. If you were out of ratios, they would make you pay the full journey person rate to that apprentice. It was kind of a I caught you penalty. So now if you only have 2, 1 can be an apprentice. And this is good for the industry, as this is part of our workforce development to encourage the utilization of apprentices. So we're real happy about that change. We're also very happy about our new formerly mechanics apprenticeship program in the contract. We've had that the details hammered out. So this was the first contract where we actually now put the new mechanics. Actually, the new title for mechanics is a maintenance operator / technician, which is a modernized description of the work at hand. And we have a formalized, they're now part of the formal apprenticeship program. And also the employers are able to utilize them in the field or in their permanent shops if they're they have the permanent shop agreement as part of their operations. So we're real excited about that. It'll give us an opportunity to get a very specific mechanics training program going. Again, another good step in our attempts at workforce development. We continued the residential and light commercial conditions, which are helpful market recovery conditions. They, with the operators agreement, will apply to all projects valued at $20 million or less. And that exempts us from such things as 40-hour or guaranteed weekly equipment, apprentice helpers on hose and cranes. Show up time is 2 hours and hours worked. So it does helps us a bit on those size projects. So that threshold value remains at $20 million for the life of the contract. We also agreed with the operators to continue their PAC fund, which is included in the agreement and allows the employers to collect that PAC money for the operators. It's been a great tool for both of us, as we have a good partnership with the operating engineers on legislative issues. And we have joint oversight on the expenditure of that PAC money, which is very unusual, but it's turned out to be a great benefit for both us and the operating engineers. I would like to say that the carpenters agreement negotiations were successful, but they weren't. We limited the new agreement to a 1-year agreement, which is effective through April 30th of next year. The increase to the carpenters also 2.5% was $1.30, but that's all we agreed to in the agreement. We changed no other provisions. Our main ask as we went into negotiations with the carpenters, as it has been in the last, several negotiations, was expansion into the northern and eastern 46 counties of Ohio. They would not agree to that. And that was the only thing that we really asked for. It's important to us but they would not agree to it. And it's not a mandatory item of bargaining, so we couldn't push them to impasse on that issue. But they were against it, and they've somewhat turned tables on that issue. So there were no other contract changes. We will work with our OCA members who are currently signatory to those northern agreements with those local trade associations, and hopefully we can seek some leverage for expansion in next year's negotiation with the carpenters. And down the road, if that doesn't work, we will have another year where we could actually attempt to get our OCA members who are signatory up north to withdraw and actually request to negotiate with the carpenters independently. And in that case, they couldn't refuse. So we have some other things we're working on down the road with the carpenters that will hopefully one day get us back to an expansion and have a full statewide agreement with the carpenters union as we do with the other trades. Our new wage and benefit bulletin, or the rates, are posted on the current on the website at OCA. They're currently posted in the breaking news section on the homepage, so that all the payroll departments can get in there and see what the diversions are to benefits effective May 1st. We will have, we're waiting still on the wage determinations, the allocations from the carpenters. And as soon as we get that back, we'll have the formal OCA wage bulletin posted and available as well, that we always publish, that has all of the wages benefits listed. So we're waiting again on the carpenters. And as soon as we get that, we will publish it. We will make that aware to members in both the newsletter and on our website. Another important issue that's out there at the federal level is the PRO Act. It's really a bad piece of legislation. It was passed in the House, but what it does is change fundamental labor law. It's currently in the Senate. We're hoping that it doesn't pass in the Senate, but it basically changes the balance between labor, and it shifts the balance and leverage to labor, as opposed to having a neutral balance in labor law and labor relations, particularly in negotiations and in voting for union representation. It really shifts all of the leverage to the unions. It's really not a good piece of legislation. It was implemented by the current administration. We put out some notice earlier in the newsletter about this and request that we utilize the AGC, our national affiliates, contact process where you can contact your senators directly. We will be doing that again, and we would ask for your support and participation to notify your senators in Ohio that you are opposed to the PRO Act. So look for that in both the newsletter and on the website. We currently need 2 management trustees for our laborers funds, one on the pension fund and one on the health and welfare fund, or the insurance fund. This is coming as a result of retirement of a longtime trustee. So if you are interested in serving as a trustee, it's a good way to understand not only the business of insurance and pensions and how they work, but also it's a good opportunity to sit across the table face to face, working with the union representatives and establishing those relationships that I think help your business as well. So if you're interested, please contact me. I've already talked to several members who may be interested, and we're always happy to hear from you if you're willing to serve as a management trustee. That sums up labor and safety today. And it's my pleasure now to turn the program over to Chris Engel, our Director of Public Agency Advocacy. Thank you very much.
All right, let me get started here. Hang on just a second. Okay. Hopefully my clouds are showing here on my first screen. So I'll be covering the State of the Association with regard to public agencies. Of course, 2020 was dominated by the pandemic and its effects on the work. And there were a lot of changes, of course. The main one being that large projects in the track program were moved out. Revenues for ODOT were affected. They're still down about 10 to 15%, somewhere in that range. But that was the main change in the program for 2020. Due to social distancing guidelines, we saw the implementation of e-ticketing on many projects. And we also found out that the pandemic was actually in the specifications. The construction material specifications 10806B, excusable non-compensable delays, includes delays from fire or epidemics. We really hadn't paid that much attention to this spec previously, but nowhere in there does it say that if the work has changed as a result of the pandemic delay, that the work itself is non-compensable. So far, ODOT hasn't recognized any compensation for changes in the work, and quite frankly, we were generally glad to have been declared an essential industry and to keep working, as many others did not. But this is a spec we might want to revisit in the near future. So through the year, we continued to meet with ODOT and the other public agencies. And although it took some getting used to, we did continue with all the normal meetings that we have always had with ODOT, including the district construction engineer meetings and the spec committee meetings. We did miss the side conversations that are part of building and maintaining relationships, but hopefully we'll be back to those soon. We even met with some county engineers virtually on local project issues and had some step 2 and step 3 meetings virtually as well with ODOT. Conway Conference was just a couple months ago, and I think it went very well after a few technical glitches at the beginning. Again, we missed the in-person meetings that aren't planned ahead, but the content was very good, I thought. A few of the spec change highlights for the year. Wanted to hit on supplement 1102, which covers concrete strength testing. We had some issues on bridges with ODOT and local projects, and have some concerns about the manner in which cylinders are being cured and tested. And then the contractors held to those test results for pay. Some small quantities of pavement markings had been excluded from the 10402 adjustment if there were under 4 miles of an individual marking type on a project, which was changed after discussion with ODOT. Now the 10402 table does apply to pavement markings in smaller quantities, which really was the intention all along. And then with regard to the 10402-2 table, there was a proposal for the contractor to have to justify a non-performance adjustment over $5,000. And that was soundly defeated due to input from the Heavy Highway Committee. We got that out to everybody, and there's times when the specifications aren't all that interesting, but this one got everybody's attention, and we got lots of comments, and we're able to make sure that that didn't move forward. So those adjustments will continue. Wet reflective pavement markings are coming into vogue here in Ohio, and they were piloted and are being implemented, but there are problems with changing existing projects over. We have a lot of thermo and epoxy projects that ODOT's non-performing that work and converting it to paint to try to add it to a bigger project later, thinking they'll get some economies of scale with the wet reflective pavement markings. But that's presented a big problem to some of our members, losing a lot of backlogged work. And we have a meeting scheduled tomorrow morning to talk with ODOT about just that. Last September, you may remember, I didn't mean to rhyme there, but a new system for approving oversize and overweight permits was implemented, unfortunately, without any input from the industry. Once we started hearing from our members, we quickly met with ODOT and let them know of the issues it was causing. We provided feedback, including problematic routes that seemed like you were getting routed not in the most efficient way, to say the least. And so we addressed those with ODOT, and it does seem that the new system is working well now, or at least the complaints have stopped anyway. But hopefully you're finding that the new system is doing what it's supposed to do. As far as the future goes, as Brad mentioned earlier, partnering is one of our strategic goals this year. And we've been working at partnering with ODOT for 30 years now. It's like trying to reach perfection. You can always strive for it and maybe achieve it for a short period of time or for an individual project, but it's very difficult to maintain, and we know everybody isn't buying into it on both sides. So we're going to be conducting those focus groups that Brad mentioned, and I'll be reaching out to some of you to participate in those, get that information back to ODOT, and try to improve partnering throughout the state for both parties. And then last, but not least, certainly the diversity and inclusion has been receiving more attention in construction firms across the country. We're going to be using AGC's culture of care as a model for companies to adopt and encourage them to sign on to the Culture of Care Pledge and make use of AGC's sample materials and policies. We hope that this effort will attract more diverse groups of people into our industry, which is still struggling to find adequate numbers of tradespersons, and retain those that do enter the field by creating a more welcoming and inclusive environment. So that's where we are with public agencies. And I would like to stop my screen share here and turn it over to Linda Pomeroy, who is our Director of Membership and the Advancement Foundation.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen. I've got a big jar of money because I want to take a couple of moments just to talk with you about ways to maximize your membership investment in OCA. We've talked to many of our members over the years, and we specifically launched a survey a couple of years back to find out what it is our members believe that we do best and what we can do to help moving into the future. And no surprise with what you've just heard from my counterparts, the top identifiers were that OCA is the voice for legislative issues in the industry. We are the advocate with public agencies, as Chris talked about, the representative for labor relations and employment law, and the industry's hub for networking and relationship building. And all of that in and of itself is a remarkable and invaluable return on your membership investment. But there's more. When you joined OCA, first, you also received a complimentary membership in the Associated General Contractors of America. Our contractor members also received membership in ARTBA so that you could access those two national organizations and so that your voice could be counted when they take our voice to Washington. In addition to that, you received an all-access pass to savings through OCA's vetted programs and products. For the last several years, I've had many phone calls from companies looking for solutions or options for their health care programs for their employees. Clearly, in this time of beating the bushes, trying to find our next round of workforce, we need to make sure that we are offering a strong package of benefits to them. And while those that belong to labor unions are, of course, covered, there are the folks who work in the office and in other areas, and many of our associate members who do not have that. So about a year and a quarter ago, OCA staff became the guinea pig for a program that we took a look at, and we lived with it for a year, and we feel good enough about it, that so good, in fact, that we launched it and made it available to our members in March. And I know a number of you have taken a look at it, and I hope it's going to work out for you as well as it has for us. But that is available. It's endorsed by OCA. I've got information on how to connect you with that. There's also information on our website, but if you're interested, let me know how to make that easy for you. As well, we have a 401k program. We've had that in place for a number of years. The idea there, again, is that while a huge number of the workforce are covered through their union affiliation, the office workers are not. And for an employer, that's a really important benefit when you're trying to attain and retain quality staff. So if you are interested in offering that kind of program, or if you are offering a program on your own with just a couple of folks in it, and you're interested in looking at the benefits of joining our program, let me know, or go to our website and we can connect you with our partner in that area. I think Mark already covered the OCA's Workers' Comp Group Rating Program and Managed Care Organization. So in addition to all of that and all of the expertise you heard of prior, we also have savings on fuel, both gasoline and diesel at the pump and in bulk, discounts on vehicle purchases and cell phone programs, and just so many more to help you increase the value of your membership investment. So reach out to me, visit our website. We'd like to do whatever we can to make that simple for you. In addition, Brad touched on the OCA Advancement Foundation. The Advancement Foundation came about in 2013. It was created by OCA's Board of Directors as a 501c3 tax-exempt arm of OCA to support efforts in education and workforce development, one of our initiatives. It also provides a vehicle for member firms and individuals to make tax-exempt contributions to power OCA's initiatives that benefit the industry. Fast forward a couple of years, when Par Peterson was chair of our board, Par decided to take the foundation under his wing as one of his initiatives, and he led the charge to secure a $1.5 million endowment for the foundation. He and Chris Runyon knocked on many doors and talked to many of you. And thanks to your generosity, we were able to announce, along with our centennial celebration, that we had secured that $1.5 million, actually a little extra, and it's already being put to work. We've since established a board of directors for the foundation. And in 2020, that foundation board met, and during the throes of a pandemic, with an eye to the future, the foundation approved grants totaling $56,000 to support programs targeting workforce awareness and development. And they've since even authorized more money because of need this year and interest in the Hall of Fame scholarship program. So the programs that they have funded are a MacTech program. OCA has been supporting MacTech's efforts in getting a program out for higher level high school students and to participate in to become work ready, and that touches our industry. But in addition to that, OCA's foundation funded, joined in funding, helped to support the digitization of the manual to be used to guide that program virtually. As well, student service projects are funded, and those are dovetailing on OCA's Contractor Classroom Collaboration program that Melanie Kitchen has out in the field and that so many of you are participating in. Thank you. Also, educator job site tours. And again, Melanie's going to dazzle you with the details on these in just a moment, so I'm just going to skip over them. I do want to share with you the faces of the 14 individuals who shared $33,500 as recipients of this year's OCA Hall of Fame scholarships funded by the foundation. They're bright, they're wonderful. We see them as having high potential to be future leaders in our industry. And then even earlier in that process, the foundation funded a Muddy Boots Award again, dovetailing on the contractor classroom collaboration initiative that Melanie Kitchen has in the field. So with that, I am pleased to turn the screen back over to Melanie Kitchen so she can dazzle you with all of her details. Thank you for joining us, and be well.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that introduction. I am happy to share some information with you about our chapters and our workforce awareness initiatives. We have 9 chapters around the state, and those are all led by volunteer executive committees that help guide the programs and meetings for their local chapter. We appreciate all 100 volunteers that make up the committees and the support that they offer to make our chapter programs a success around the state. In 2020, we had 2,743 participants join us for 30 chapter events. Some of those were virtual, but we did do as many in person and outdoors as we could. And we do really appreciate all of the member support who participated in those events last year. We were really thankful that we were able to do them and keep everyone connected. In 2020, any individual that works for an OCA member company is invited to attend our chapter events. We have a calendar on our website, and we also send out invitations to those that request to be on our chapter email list. This is really easy information to get if you're not already getting this information and you would like to. Just contact me at the office or contact Luann Weefy in our office, and we're happy to get you added to that. We're going to move on to our workforce awareness initiatives. Our OCA contractor classroom collaboration that Linda mentioned is really our umbrella branding for our workforce awareness programs. This idea grew simply from helping facilitate relationships between our schools and our contractor member companies in a way that best suits that classroom. We also continue to support the I Build America Ohio website in partnership with AGC Ohio. The site continues to be a resource to create industry awareness in order to enhance the supply of our skilled workforce. We do hope, and I know Brad mentioned it earlier, but we do hope that as you are out working with students or talking to anyone that would like information about careers in the industry, that you use that as a tool, ibuildamericaohio.com. It's a lot of great information about the industry in one place. We continue to do our Rich DiGeronimo Constructor for a Day program that gives high school and college students that are interested in construction careers the opportunity to visit a job site and also to meet trade apprenticeship representatives and all of our contractor members. And you get to meet them as well. So there is a way for students to meet potential employers that way. We obviously had to do it a little bit differently this past year, and you see pictures, hopefully, that I'm sharing on my screen for some of the student events that we've done recently. We have been out in the classrooms. Our staff has been working with some of our trade apprenticeship representatives to get out into the classroom more as schools have opened up and let guests in a little bit more in the last few weeks. And in addition to that, we thank all of the members that were able to give in-person job site tours last year in very small groups to some college students and to everyone who's participated in our virtual Constructor for a Days as well. So again, you just see a few pictures up here, but we appreciate all of your support in making those happen. We also have continued our scholarships, and OCA typically between the chapters and our Hall of Fame statewide scholarship that's sponsored by the association, we give out between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. In 2020, OCA presented $49,000 to 29 students around the state. Our job site tours for educators, something that Linda mentioned, is supported by our Advancement Foundation, and it is a newer initiative. We take educators that influence students' careers out onto job sites so they can get some more information about careers in the industry. They meet our members, get a tour. It's really similar to the Constructor for a Day format. However, it's for the educators. And it also has allowed OCA to become more engaged in schools that we did not previously have a relationship with. Our Muddy Boot Award is something that came from the idea of one of our chapters, our North Central Ohio chapter, a couple of years back. And it's really a way to just help encourage trade-focused high school students as they enter the industry. As I mentioned, it was one chapter's idea, but it sort of caught on, and with the help of and the financial support of the Advancement Foundation, we've been able to fund those and distribute them around the state. And by the end of this school year, which is next week, we will have given away 29 of these Muddy Boot Awards, which are $200 gift cards to the student's local Red Wing boot retailer, and they're nominated by their instructor. It's a surprise to the student, and it's definitely a pleasure to be part of these awards for me. And it's something that, again, encourages the students, and I believe it's unique in that I don't know of anyone else that's doing this to help encourage students. In the process of this past spring, having given out those 29 awards, we have also been in front of about 600 students and educators in that process. Our hands-on student service project, again, is funded by our Advancement Foundation, and it provides a $2,000 budget to building trades program so that they can build a hands-on project. It's something that benefits their community and also gives them some exposure to some of the elements that we use in the heavy highway industry. One of the things that we noticed as OCA staff when we were going out into schools is that a lot of the building trades program students aren't necessarily introduced much to the heavy segment of the construction industry. And so we wanted to help promote that a little bit more and also give them a unique experience. An example of the hands-on student service project was a patio that was poured for a local fire department in Mount Vernon. And that was done by juniors and seniors from a building trades program, and it was done this past school year. And so again, something to give the kids some exposure to some things that they're going to find if they enter into the heavy highway segment of the industry, and also allows them to benefit their community. Those are all the slides that I have. I do want to thank you for supporting OCA's chapter programs and workforce awareness initiatives. We definitely encourage everyone who's with us today to take the lead in building relationships with your local schools. I know that they welcome the participation and need it. And if you want to be part of our contractor classroom collaboration initiatives, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to get you connected to those as well. Now I'm going to turn the screen over to a message from OCA's president, Chris Runyon.
Thank you, Melanie, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to add my voice to those who have already welcomed you to the 2021 State of the Association presentation. I must first express my regrets for not being able to be with you in person this year. As we have reported, the issue of increasing force account work by local governments has been a hot topic coming out of the transportation budget. I was appointed to the Joint Committee on Force Accounts, which is charged with taking testimony and reporting that testimony back to the legislative leadership, which in turn will lead to action by the House and Senate on local government force account threshold limits. With only a week's notice, unfortunately, the committee chair scheduled a meeting right at this date and time. With the best information in this presentation coming from OCA staff, I felt it was best if I record my message to you so that I could represent your interests on force accounts before the Joint Committee. Well, it's been quite a year since last year's State of the Association report, which was one of our first virtual presentations. At that time, we were moving into all of the pandemic restrictions. While it has taken a full year, it's good to see that we are now starting our gradual transition back to a place where we can conduct business in more of a pre-pandemic mode. Having this event in the virtual realm is yet another reminder of COVID's lingering effect. There is no doubt our experiences and virtual capabilities, many for the better, will continue to shape how OCA serves and communicates with you as we move into the future. As the closer for this year's presentation, I know the OCA staff have already communicated with you many of the things we've been working on. I'd like to mention a couple of additional things that have been included in our strategic plan that you should know about. You heard from Melanie and Linda about our efforts in the area of workforce development. We also want to include efforts to develop and grow the industry's leaders of tomorrow. Since 2008, we have held our Future Leaders Forum, where we have presented informational sessions to the participants on issues that would help them in their career advancement. We currently utilize their skill and time in helping us evaluate applications for OCA's Hall of Fame scholarship. We would like to identify additional ways to bring these leaders together, either regionally or statewide, to encourage their future networking and build stronger relationships, which is a goal for all OCA events at the statewide and chapter levels. If you are an alumni of the Future Leaders Forum, we would love to hear from you with suggestions on ways that we can bring the group together once again, so that you may grow the relationships you formed when your class first met. With the availability of so many internet-based communication tools, our move into that realm has shown us that we must continue to find ways to better connect with you and share information we have to offer regarding Ohio's heavy highway construction industry in the most efficient and effective ways. One of those ways is the development of a dedicated OCA app. When looking at internet communication statistics, we find that many of you take advantage of looking at our weekly e-newsletter, get into our website, and view the bulletins we send on an as-needed basis. But those methods are not the primary means we use to keep in touch with each other nowadays. The most common way is via app or texting, both of which deliver information to you on a smartphone or tablet. So we are now in development phase of an app. Once we have established the basic platform, we will be reaching out to our Future Leaders Forum alumni to help us better refine this new tool in our toolbox. This app will allow us to increase the effectiveness and practicality of how we communicate industry news, events, and other information directly to you in the palm of your hand. Finally, I want to highlight a way of strengthening our legislative efforts. Michelle has already spoken to you about some of the many issues she has dealt with at the State House during this past year. She works hard to represent your needs and opinions on various issues that pass through Ohio's legislature. OCA's message is more impactful when your representative and senator know that our voice speaks for you. However, there is no way for you to express your views to them than in direct communication. To help make that happen, we want to adopt a grassroots advocacy platform where it is easy for us to communicate a message we would like for your local officials to hear, and you, in turn, can easily deliver that message to them. We're not yet sure if it will be a standalone computer application or be blended with tools that we already possess, maybe into the app now under development. We'll be looking into several options with the goal of strengthening our industry's voice before the legislature by adding your voice to ours. So I want to close by wishing you the very best for a safe, productive, and profitable year in 2021. Thank you for making this year's State of the Association presentation part of your day. And thank you for your membership and participation in your Ohio Contractors Association. Now, I'll turn the screen back over to Melanie to close out this year's presentation and give you a tantalizing sneak peek at our 2022 annual convention destination.
All right, this concludes our program. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. I do not see any questions in the Q&A box. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to type those in now or contact us directly at OCA. We're happy to answer any questions that you have about any of the programs that we do at any time. Not seeing anything coming through. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank all of our panelists today, all of our staff, and our board chairman, Brad Miller with Miller Brothers Construction. Our next chapter event is the Columbus Sporting Shoot, which is May 21st. I think there's room for 2 more teams of 4. So if you would like to be part of that on May 21st, please let us know soon. We do anticipate that it's going to close out soon. And we hope to see you all soon. As Chris mentioned, we are going to close the program with a short video. We hope you enjoy it. It is about our upcoming annual convention in 2022 in Aruba.